In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. Hey, I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising and hearts are compromising, convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest and the righteous in your corners.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. How you doing, Dr. Thunder?
I'm doing very well.
Oh, you got the virus again, or something?
Oh no, man. No 91 DVOC.
No 91 DVOC. Shout out to, I believe, the first person I heard. It's Donovan that does stuff like that.
That's right. It's Donovan. Yeah. It's
100%. 100%. So yeah, likewise, nice to see you again. Nice to see Nicer in the chat. Nice to see Q Dog in the chat. Q Dog already dropped a $10 Cash App. Yes, always representing, always holding it down. Thank you very much. Nicer already dropped something like the orange color one. I believe that's the $20 level. Okay, that's good stuff. We're already.
It's $10, but it's halfway there.
It's halfway there. Yeah. Indeed. Nicer always supporting.
That's right.
Nicer always holding it down. Okay, so we're already getting started in the right way. So let's get right into it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we hear this phrase thrown out a lot, the generational wealth phrase. We hear that a lot. We also hear when it comes to big money and community type stuff, we talk about the circulation of the dollar within certain communities, right? Ain't that right, Dr. Thunder? We hear about, oh, in this community, it circulates this much. In that community, it circulates that much. Yo, there's something that is common about these two phrases, these generational wealth and then this whole thing about dollar circulation, and that is family, because you need community for both generational stuff. Obviously, if you're going to be generating and regenerating, you're going to need a family, right? And shout out to Kevin Samuels. Without families, you don't have communities. Hence the whole community thing, right? Because the dollar is not just going to start circulating or staying amongst individuals without this kind of in other words, the basic founding block, the basic unit of this community thing is family, right? And especially if you're going to be going into the future for next and next generations. And if you're going to do that, you're going to need to bring somebody in. Hence, whom is the right kind of person to avoid? Okay, we're not talking about, we're going to go from the negative route here. We're saying whom are we trying to avoid? And obviously, we're also going to talk about the positive attributes also. Now, shout out to Goldie Jones out there. I know she's hiding somewhere in the chat, but she also she sent a Cash App, okay? But she's hiding in the chat. She's watching from the clouds, as they say. Shout out to you. Appreciate the support. Now, Dr. Thunder, let's begin. There's something that's written on the screen. Do you mind reading that?
Yeah. You have to avoid the majority of them and focus on your goal.
It says avoid the majority. Yeah. So let's start with this. Okay. That is, and I responded to Mr. Steven there. I believe that's his name. That's a given. Let's talk about the givens first. Okay. Because I just mentioned something about generational wealth, and I'm talking about doing things that require a substantial amount of effort, planning, know-how, and perhaps talent, and maybe luck. So we're talking about the master level things here. But let's first of all clear up some of the basics. And what Mr. Steven is referring to is one of the basics, which is number one, you got to be focused on this thing, right? It's 100% focused on that, and you need to avoid. Shout out to Coach Greg Adams. He says this, like, first of all, if you want to have an easy time with women, just start out by eliminating 80% of them. Okay? Just start out by, hey, in other words, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. There's a checklist that you could go over. You can use the Kevin Samuels formula, weight, height, dress size, whatever, right? Just start checking some things off and just start taking those off, right? While you're focusing on, quote unquote, your purpose, right? So let's start on this basic level before we get to what we are really talking about here. Let's talk about the things that you should not even be thinking about dating or so on and so forth. Do you have any of those pointers for us, Dr. Thunder? And then we'll get to the super chat, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of things. What are some basic things that you should just avoid? Forget marrying, forget all that kind of stuff. Okay, what are the things you should avoid, generally speaking?
I had a great conversation with Mr. 1950. I interviewed him last night, and that video premiered this morning on my YouTube channel. We had a really great conversation, and at one point we started talking about a common thing that is said around the manosphere, the red pill spaces, and that is this idea of sort of disqualifying single mothers. Now, the thing is that there's an issue with the terminology. So, for instance, Minister Japp, when he says single mothers, and I interviewed him and asked him this question specifically, actually what he's not talking about widows or women that are divorced and they just happen to have kids. No, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about, as Mr. Palmer would say, women that choose single motherism. Shout out to him. Um, that's what he's talking about. And in particular, if you're in your 20s, you do not want to choose someone that comes with some sort of pre baggage. And that's some pre baggage. I mean, that's a surefire way to sort of start in the hole. So I think it's actually good counsel, and Mr. 1950 agreed, that for a 20-year-old something, choosing someone, a baby mama, that's probably not a good choice. And it's not a good choice, not just because they made a mistake, but rather that they prioritized having a kid without prioritizing marriage.
Okay. So from a pragmatic point of view, and you mentioned, you put some parameters around it. You said choosing someone who chooses, right? That. And then also when you're in your 20s. So it seems like you're agreeing with, baby mamas are for real men, for grown men. Yeah, and it is true. It is pragmatic. There's no reason why you should go take on a burden which you're not even ready. So shout out to Game Changer. He said something that, generally speaking, if two people meet when they're young, there's this kind of a exchange that happens between men and women, right? If you meet when you're young, let's say you guys meet in college and then you get married, you start having kids by 26 or something. The exchange is this: you're getting the best of her in her youth, and she's going to get the best of you about 20 years later, right? Because that's kind of how it works, okay? Now, can I get a 1 in the chat if that basic exchange is understood? Does that make sense, Nicer? Does that make sense, Leroy? If you guys meet together early, you're getting the best of her initially, and then later on, she gets the payoff. Because when you're 45 and a millionaire or whatever, that's kind of how the thing goes. So I like that you've kind of laid down some things. Number one, focus on the pragmatics, right? And then you said not choosing someone who chooses that. Okay. So, and then there are a whole bunch of other things, right? Go listen to Coach Greg Adams, listen to Donovan Sharp and all that kind of stuff. We know the space that we're in. It's kind of clear. There's no need to repeat the basics, right? In other words, but before I start forgetting the super chat and before we continue, let me go ahead and highlight some of the super chats, and if you don't mind reading them for us, Dr. Thunder. Starting with Nicer. What does Nicer have for us?
Ike and Dr. Thunder salute. And with some nice prayer hands.
Nice indeed. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. And we also have another one over here, $5 super chat. Thank you very much.
Big Mag the Fisher, keep working.
Thank you. We got another one.
Sick Lid, the $20 super chat. Bro Ike, please circulate these dollars from for some jollof rice.
Yes, jollof rice. I don't know, Sick Lid either. Do you want Nigerian jollof rice or Ghanaian jollof rice? Because there's a world war. You don't know about the jollof wars, Dr. Thunder. It's a whole West African thing going on, but there's been a long-standing war of who has the best jollof rice. But thank you very much, sir. And then we have the one and only Snuggles, okay, coming in, the $5 super chat monarch in the house. What she got for us?
She says, what would Jesus do? What would your daddy say? What would your mother tell you to avoid? What would your grandparents tolerate? How do people judge?
Indeed. And we got Big Mac the Fisher again.
Married households have 4 times the wealth of single households, and good marriages retain wealth. That is facts.
Indeed. And as we start getting into this thing, we're gonna see that a big part of this is gonna come to delayed gratification. One of the things that I just mentioned already points to that fact, does it not, Dr. Thunder? I said, hey, you know what? What's gonna happen? Kevin Samuel says, hey, there's a certain group of people who go to college to find a husband, right? and certain others are waiting to find the perfect guy later on. We already know, okay, why that's working backwards, because you're okay. Time is no friend to a woman in the sexual marketplace. I'm not talking about your degrees, your experience at the workplace. If you're trying to get a man, right, and an actual man, waiting is not the best thing to do. Okay, right? I mean, that's just pragmatic and practical. So there is an aspect of delayed gratification if you're going to do it early, which is basically the man is going to become what he's going to become later. Ain't no man in his 20s and stuff like that. He's still just trying to figure things out. It has always been that way because men are made, they're not born. You're practically useless as a man from like 18 to like 28. What do you have to offer? Okay. A woman, hey, you know what? You cross puberty, add a few years, you're inspecting you're already ready. Put it on the shelf. Let's evaluate it, right? But a man, no. You're gonna go through a whole lot, and then at some point you're gonna catch that exponential curve where you're gonna then start seeing the value. There is no other way. It has never been the case. It has never been the case otherwise. So, Dr. Thunder, how can things go wrong? Okay. Shout out to Solo TV 84, Simp Tales, right? And you have confessions. What do you call it? Simp confessions?
Blue pill testimonials.
Oh yeah, blue pill testimonials. Why was I thinking confessions?
Definitely inspired by our good friend Solo, his Simp Tales. And actually my very first episode was called Baby Mama Drama. And
so you do have, okay, interesting. Now let's talk about vis-a-vis. Let's start inching into this aspect of generational wealth, because I said let's just kind of lay down the groundwork initially about the things that some of the basics, one of which it's on you, gentlemen, to do this, right? It's on you to be on your purpose. It's on you to understand the game, and also to avoid this whole drama with women until it makes sense. And I said, hey, if you're going to get into it early, you guys got to be of the certain mindset of which we'll describe later. But it needs to be understood, especially this is more for the women to understand, that the payoff for you is going to come later. Okay? Don't go trying to get this 25-year-old dude to be, no, that's not how it works. Okay? And that's why Kevin Samuels always says, hey, you're looking for a particular lifestyle, you're looking for a particular this, that, and the other. Do you know the kind of men and the age range and the percentage and so on and so forth that make that? Because you're looking in the wrong place and you're going to end up being dissatisfied. But before we go all the way there, and this is about the kind of women to avoid, okay? We're going to inch our way there. But what could go wrong again if you choose the wrong kind of woman, right? What are some of the examples that you have? Well, let me go ahead and maybe I'll give some kind of general pointers, right? The idea is, and by general, I mean actually general. That's kind of what I specialize in. The idea is this. You don't want to be caught with a person that has a fixed mindset, okay? Somebody, for example, whom is very, very into the dreams. They embrace the dreams, and I'll get to the specifics of this later, but they don't embrace the other side of the dream, which is the toil, the sacrifice, the time, all that stuff. In other words, if there's somebody out there, some woman out there who has big dreams, fine. But if they do not equally embrace and have fervor and are passionate about the work and the sweat that it takes, run away. That's just a crazy person. But anyways, generally speaking, Dr. Thunder, what are the things that could kind of go wrong if you do choose the wrong person with regards to your life purpose and also generational wealth building?
Yeah, the two things that can ruin a man the quickest are money and women. And it just so happens that you will lose money if you're chasing women, but you'll never lose women if you get the bag. The bag will attract women, but chasing women will repel the bag.
And that's not a bad thing, right, Dr. Thunder? The bag attracting women is not a bad thing. It does not mean that these women are bad women. Women should be attracted to the bag, right?
Absolutely. Now, what we refer to as being gold diggers, that's a hyper form of bag chasing. All right. So, but any woman with any sense is going to try to choose the highest value man, the one that can protect and provide. And the bag is related to that directly.
100%.
So
100%.
now, I'll tell you, and I got on the internet and I sent some of this stuff to you,
hmm
and I looked up some of these lists of women to avoid,
hmm
and there's some good points, and I may incorporate a couple of them,
Uh-huh.
but for the most part, it seems that uh, I can go from some experiences that I've had. Uh, so one of them, like I said, the baby mama thing. Okay,
hmm
so you don't want to pick somebody that is prone to making bad choices.
hmm
You don't want to choose someone that is damaged, right? Now, you ask, well, what can happen to you? How can this not work out for you? Well, if someone is damaged, then you're going to have to focus on them.
hmm
And if you're focusing on them to try to fix them, then that's energy you're not using chasing the bag,
You're a project woman, as Kevin Samuels recently said.
right?
Not a woman from the projects, okay, but a
uh,
project woman. And
he-
this is something
here,
that,
here,
go ahead.
here, it's calls them the fixer upper.
Exactly. It's not only women that do this. This is a human tendency. It's the tendency to see a puppy with a broken leg, right? And pick it over all the healthy puppies, right? Again, this is not because people tend to say, oh, it's women that do that. They want to find a fixer upper. But no, 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 no. When I put it in this puppy analogy, you tend to understand that it's not just people who are necessarily over prone to nurturing that do that. There is a human tendency to be like, oh, the puppy with the broken leg, so cute. And you have all these other healthy puppies, and now you just end up with a broken puppy. And you're going to spend your time working with a broken puppy rather than something that could help you or at least not usurp your time, right?
Yes. So another one is you want to avoid 304s. Now here's the reason. Here's the reason for it. Now okay, now they were very democratic. They said the overly experienced girl. But then they wouldn't really nail it down, But they did mention some things like if you get with an overly experienced girl, then she's going to get bored. And since you're going to be spending all of these 10, 12-hour days working,
Mm-hmm.
can you trust someone that is bored?
Mm-hmm.
And when they do get bored, what are the kinds of things that she's done in the past? Greg Adams says that past behavior is the best indication of future behavior. So the whole, is she a 304 or not? The reason that men are repelled by that when considering someone for a long-term relationship,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately marriage, is you need to be able to depend on this person. And if they've made all these bad decisions in the past, how do you know that they're not going to continue.
I like how that you said, "How do you know?" Because here is what a certain type of person likes to say. Okay. Oh, but it's possible. Oh, but I know this one person.
Oh
Right?
my goodness.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where you have to make a decision based on probability, not
That's right.
possibility.
Not
You could
possibility.
you
That's
could
right.
win the lottery, okay? But guess what? People tend not to go cash out their 401k. You know what? Practitioner. Practitioner right there with a highlighted chat right there. She could win the lottery, but she's not going to go cash out her 401k or pension or whatever, just buy a whole bunch of lottery tickets on the possibility that it could happen. No, you don't do that. Hence, when somebody says, hey, what is the likelihood that this kind of person would do X, Y, and Z? That's why you make the decision based on that. You don't go, oh, but I know this one person who fell off the 17th floor and survived. I'm sure that's happened before. But no, you don't make those kind of decisions. But anyways, go ahead, Dr. Thunder, with regards to the kinds of things that could go wrong before we start talking about the things that could go right and the types of person that could assure that this goes. So far you said 304s and overly experienced because bad decisions, they get bored. And by the way, women will get bored regardless. Okay?
Right.
Isn't that
Boredom
okay,
is
so-
okay. Right.
Yeah,
Boredom is okay if you have a proven track record of finding positive ways to channel that boredom.
Yeah.
The problem with the 304 is that the way that they have channeled the boredom.
Very a
That is
good
not-
point. A good point. Because here's the thing, the Chris Rock joke, right? If women were fine with you in a cardboard box, or under a tree, right? The human race would be under a tree still. Okay? It is because of the boredom of women. Because of the, hey, this tree ain't so good. How about the cave? Hey, this cave ain't so good. How about this? How about that? How about that? It is a driver of evolutionary progress. We understand how the mechanism works. So it's fine. But I like the fact that you mentioned that you know the way in which the 304 handles her boredom. Okay. And it's not maybe with a little bit of, and by the way, maybe in a different stream, I do have some pointers and some tips for men on how to handle the whole boredom thing. Not just, bedroom boredom, that's a different thing. But in general, because you got to create the highs and the lows. Okay. Men are very flat line type people. Hey, does this make sense? Hey, we got Joan in the house. Joan, does this make sense? Okay. My vivid life, does this make sense? I'm pointing out to the women because they have been with men before and they know that men are very we just have some basic level and we're just going to stay there. Okay. We don't really need oh my God, things are going in. Oh no, my God, things went, and oh my, no, that's not our thing. We can just be very comfortable. We have this we reach homeostasis, we stay there. But a woman needs a little bit more, some kinds of things going on. And if you're going to sustain a long-term relationship, you might want to know a few things about actually how to implement that. Is it trickery and is it game playing? Yes, 100%. But is it necessary? True.
Yes.
It is necessary.
100%.
100%. There needs to be some challenges. And then, we overcame the challenge. And then it's smooth sailing for a while. And then, oh my God, things are looking a little rough. And that's the kind of ride they like. But anyways, go ahead, Dr. Thunder.
All right. Another one listed here, and I'll start making some connections to some of these videos on this Blue Pill Testimonials playlist on my YouTube channel. But the girl who wants the bad boy. Now, often is the case. Now that's almost a given, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Because girls kind of want the bad boy.
Yeah.
But really what the point is here is when it's about mate selection, right? So it's about do you have good sense?
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to see what good qualities and bad qualities are? are you able to prioritize qualities that will lead to long term, or are you totally stuck in that whole shiny object? I want it right now, and I'll think about the consequences later. Those aren't the kind of qualities that you want in a woman, because anything that happens to a woman, it's way worse than something that would happen to a guy. Okay, so in other words, every time a woman lays down with a man, there's a potential of that, 9 months of swelling, and then 18 years of responsibility, and so on. So because of that, a woman must be able to make good decisions and judge qualities in people. And you want if you're going to have a kid with someone, you want your spouse to be able to make good decisions while she's taking care of your kids, while you're working 10 to 12-hour days.
100%. So I like that you keep mentioning the 10 to 12-hour days, because what are we talking about here? We're talking about people who are actually trying to do something. A man who's actually trying to do something in this world. Okay. We're talking generational wealth. Okay. Now, let's start going closer towards the ideal, and then we're going to get practical again. Okay. Here is a certain, okay, so I'm a PhD. We know that one. Okay. As I may release a track. I got the beat down, and then I kind of put it in the back burner. Okay. It's got the dogs barking and everything, and I'm a PhD. It's good stuff. But there is a particular misconception, and I think it's willful a lot of times. People love willful misconceptions, especially when they're involved, their emotions are involved. There's a little bit of shame associated with maybe mistakes they made. Then they willfully choose to just misunderstand certain things. Right? We know how it goes.
Right.
It's like the people who try to make the exceptions of, well, it is possible. Or I know this one person. It's like, you're willfully misunderstanding what somebody says when they're talking about probabilities. And you do make decisions based on probabilities. Otherwise, you would just go ahead and spend all your money on a lottery ticket on the possibility that you could win. So let's go ahead and talk about that ideal woman, okay? Whom we know the best book for it. It's Proverbs 31, right?
That's right.
So a woman whom is conscientious and market savvy, and she saves this and she bought that extra plot of land, and okay, look, this is not a dummy, is it? Right? It is not a dummy by any means. And it is a woman of wisdom. So I've said conscientiousness, market savvy. In other words, the kind of woman where you can be like, okay, I'm doing my grind, I'm doing my thing. Okay. But if I were to die tomorrow, will my kids be okay? Right? That is a good kind of, by okay, I mean, will she pick up and do the things? Right? And it's not hard to know this type of people. It's not like you got to do all kinds of crazy little things to know. And let me mention what I've been saying, what I'm getting at here with the whole PhD thing. Let's not be stupid and act as though education was ever a substitute for wisdom. Let me say that again. Education has never been, okay? As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask for a 1 in the chat, just so that we're clear, okay? Especially the women in the chat, because there's this whole education thing that people like talking about. I'm talking about this woman in Proverbs 31. That does all that stuff that maybe you should go read in Proverbs 31. Since when do we just go to somebody and say, hey, she's got a psychology degree, therefore she's wise and conscientious and this? No. And as a matter of fact, it is neither necessary nor sufficient, is what I'm saying. It is neither necessary nor sufficient. The psychology degree is just something else to be there. It's fine. It's not that, oh, well, you're trying to tell me not to get a psychology. Number one, Proverbs 31 woman is not a dummy by any means. And then number two, it has nothing to do with some paper that she got from some stupid. You see the idiots the idiots graduating left and right? What the hell does that have to do with the kinds of things that you need to build generational wealth? You can be a village woman, okay, and be conscientious and wise and on and on. These things tend to do more with personality and a certain set of inculcating of experience in a certain way and training, as opposed to what we tend to call education from some silly institution with some paper. So the idea that I'm going to show you my paper and now you're supposed to qualify as Mrs. Proverbs 31. Look, let's stop being idiots and let's stop insulting each other, okay? That paper has nothing to do with this. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I was watching. I can't remember the content creator's name, but she's got a lot of followers on TikTok. And she was talking about, so it was something like, you shouldn't be upset with the educational institution for not imparting, wisdom, imparting sort of stuff that you need to be able to do to make it out in the real world, right? Because the educational institutions were not meant to teach you the stuff that your parents are supposed to teach you.
Mhm.
The stuff is supposed to come down from your parents, and so you're upset because you didn't get what it is that you think you were supposed to get. The pluses you thought that would be associated or tied to your degree, but really, that's stuff that your parents were supposed to teach you, and frankly, you can be very knowledgeable and be a straight fool.
100%. You know what? Let me put it this way. It's even worse than that. It tends to be the case that the educated fool is a little bit more foolish than the uneducated fool. Now, do you know why I would say something like that, Dr. Thunder? Let me put it this way.
I do.
Okay, go ahead. Let me see. Yeah, go ahead. Give me your intuition on that.
Yeah. So, see, the fool can't refer to some degree
Mhm.
to sort of bolster their confidence that they for sure know something, because see, I have this piece of paper, right? Whereas the educated fool, they will continually reference their paper. See, this means I know something, and that's going to make them quite recalcitrant. It's going to make it very difficult to knock them off of that foolishness.
100%.
As the Bible says,
yeah.
As the Bible says, a rod for the fool's back.
A rod for the fool's back. Shout out to Ayo Adeojo, Mr. Young Nigerian Henry. I happen to know he's a Henry. And look at that picture. He's a good looking young man out there, Nigerian. So he likes money. And maybe some young lady out there should go trap him down. I know what he's up to. He can't hide. So, 100%. Look, the fool, as you said, does not have this thing to lean on, and they have to survive. They have to eat. They don't have this kind of extra prestige and doors opening for them. So trust me, they're learning what you may call savvy or street smart, right? But somebody with a piece of paper that's a freaking idiot just continues to wallow in their ignorance. So why did I make the detour here? Because there is this willful confusion that goes on where people have a panel for 5 hours talking about, well, why is my degree? Shh. Okay. Calm down. You know how irritating it is, Dr. Thunder, when people are just saying stupid stuff and you know that they're willfully just being stupid. Since when did nobody in their real life goes out and say, oh, here's that person with that psychology degree. They must be wise and conscientious and maybe a good person. Let me give them my whole. What the hell are you talking about? It has never been the case. Why are we acting all of a sudden that it has anything to do with it? Okay?
Let's go.
So, it's just some kinds of things that are just way, way, way too stupid for me to stomach. So now that now that we've said that, I'm going to re-list some time tends to go really quickly for conversations like this. So I'm going to go ahead and we were talking about the ideal. We said go read Proverbs 31. We said that woman is very far from a fool, not even unintelligent. She's actually intelligent, which again has nothing to do with education either, right? You're born with your intelligence, okay? Right? People who have below 80 IQ, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, it is what it is. Even the military won't take them. Shout out to Jordan Peterson, is the one that made me aware of that fact. There's nothing you can do about that. And if you got an IQ of way up here, that has nothing to do with your intelligence either. Okay. And again, these particular attributes of conscientiousness, market savvy, and wisdom, and then having inculcated assertive experiences from good training has nothing to do with what we tend to call education with a piece of paper, right? It's old style education, a la Rousseau, or even, let's say, Plato's Republic. When Plato's Republic discusses education, they're talking about everything, right? When Socrates was going about how should we educate them, they're talking about the poetics and the gymnastics and the this and the that. And it was their whole life, how you create a human being, not some stupid degree, ladies and gentlemen. So let's start to get into some things about like what exactly would make this person qualified and will help them, okay, or help you in a practical way, right? Get to the point where you can build that generational wealth. And here's the first thing I want to say. I'm going to go back to it. I said it before. I said she needs to embrace the toil as much as she embraces the dream, because the dream and the toil are the same thing. I'm sometimes here telling you about my 16-hour days and how I'm going to do a all-nighter after this, and how I woke up, I generally kind of wake up around 4:30 a.m. and then I do, and then I'm here in the evenings talking to you, and then I'm telling you also that I'm going to got to do some more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There is no substitute for this stuff. Let me put it this way. If a woman starts talking about, oh, I would like this and I would like that, but then they're like, why do you have to work so much? Run away. I'm not saying that having a dream is a bad thing, but if she's just like, you know what, I'm cool. I want basic stuff. That's fine. There needs to be consistency, in other words, right, Dr. Thunder? There needs to be consistency in her vision and also in her understanding of what it takes. In other words, when I say, hey, I want, these number of millions, okay, I'm not just seeing millions. I'm seeing heartache, heartburn, the grind, the battle, and I start smiling because I know that's what it is. It's one and the same thing, because I know that's the iron sharpened iron, things get refined in the furnace and the diamond and all that stuff, which, all the platitudes which people have in their heads. I know that it is one and the same thing with the millions. It's not even, you cannot separate. It's the same thing. As a matter of fact, I tend to just focus only on the grind, right? Because at least that's a place in which I have agency. That's stuff I actually have to do and actually deal with. The millions tend to come, right? But any further thoughts on this thing, which is you meet a woman, she has these dreams and aspirations and stuff, but somehow, here's a little test, for example. And this has happened to me in the past, okay? The woman likes to talk about certain dreams that she has. She has these lists of places that, oh, by this point, I would like to be a business owner. And I'll talk about this linearity again, which is a problem. People who think linearly also avoid them. By this point, I like to have this. And by this point, I like to have this. And by this point, I like to have this. And then here comes a simple test. Let's say she's always talking about a catering business. Okay? She's always talking about her catering business, ladies and gentlemen. But then here comes an opportunity for maybe a first client. But it's not a big opportunity, but you got to start somewhere, right? But it's very inconvenient. It's 2 cities over. And it's right after, the practice for that she needs to do and this, that, and the other. And you tell her, you know what? Cool, great. You should go for it. Do it anyways. Don't mind the traffic. I hope you do this and that. And if she starts going, get the hell out of there. Okay.
Yep.
Again, I'm saying two sides of a coin here. On the one hand, she's talking about that catering business and how she needs to be at this place at a certain time, and by age 29, she's gonna be retiring or something like that. But then here comes an opportunity, which is inconvenient, and then she's kind of shrinking back from it, like get the hell out of there. She's gonna make your life a living hell, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen, I should say. Or maybe some ladies too. Maybe some ladies swing that way. Go ahead, Dr. Thunder. What you got to say about that?
Yeah, I'm blessed and fortunate. I mean, I married what I consider to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And as hard as I work, as hard a worker as I am, she's as hard a worker as I am. I mean, she just is. Now she's doing different things than I do, but she's compelled to work. She feels guilty if she doesn't work. She feels a burden to put time in, and she's a great mom. And she, I mean, I'll be downstairs or I'll be somewhere else in the house, and it's music to my ears hearing how she is getting. She is just, whenever he's out of line, I know it. She's letting him have it. That's what's up. I mean, and that's important. It's important to know that your spouse is going to have that kind of energy towards, improving and keeping it moving. Kind of to the point where that you made earlier, if something was to happen to me, I know they'd be okay. It might be tough, it might be hard, but I know they would be okay, and I know my boy would still be in good shape.
100%. So, again, somebody who embraces is a general topic, embraces the dream, and by the dream I mean, yes, make that first client situation work. Okay, my wife, for example.
Look, man,
go ahead.
Look. I just wanted to that point. There's been several situations. My wife has an interior decorating business.
Go ahead.
And she also is she has her own dance company. And anytime there's been an opportunity to do something, she does what's necessary. We move stuff around and we get it done. And that's just what it is. It's not waffling around. It's not like, I don't know if I really want to do. No, it's like, hey, you said you wanted to do this. Let's go. I mean, it's really as simple. Either you want to do this or you don't want to do it. And it's not like you have forever to sit around waiting for stuff to happen. That's not how it works. I mean, you have to be involved and engaged in your progress. I had a conversation with one of my students. He's been taking these sort of productivity sessions with me, and he's in college, and we've been going through his list of goals and the stuff that he wants to do, and that's great. I gave him some tips on not wasting time and piggybacking, and all of these kinds of ideas. Write everything down, make sure that you're not wasting time, pack a lunch, all of that kind of stuff, so you don't have to stop everything that you're doing and waste about an hour going to a restaurant to get lunch instead of doing work, all of that kind of stuff. And we came to the point where I was talking to him. I was like, look, man, there's a burden of performance for men. You don't really have the luxury of, you really can't make any mistakes, and you really can't, you can't sit around and think that somebody else is going to do something for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to get it done yourself. And we kind of talked about the workaholic thing. People get labeled as workaholics because they're spending more than the 8 hours that everyone else spends. And
Let's
then that gets
normalize the 40-hour work week.
yeah, all of that stuff. And it's like, look, man, I can't afford to be thinking that way. And and it takes a spouse to understand that. My spouse understands. I mean, we have some intense conversations from time to time, but she understands that I'm trying to better myself for us, for the family. All this extra time I'm putting in, and I enjoy what I do online, but this ain't even this ain't my primary hustle, and I'm on here all the time. But why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? I mean, there's a reason that I'm doing it. I mean, you got to. You have
we're gonna
to.
get
And
there.
your spouse has to
Yeah.
understand.
We're gonna get to that point. That's a you already started to talk about the diversification because it has to do with something about the non-linearity of getting the bag, the non-linearity of big money, the non-linearity of generational wealth. There is no straight line of, oh, I'm going to stay at this job and then I'm going to do this. And then no, that's not how the money is made, bro. Okay. Right. And you never quite know which particular faucet is going to just gush out. That's why anyways, before we get there, I'm going to say one more thing about this point of someone who embraces the dream. And by the dream, I mean the toil, the hard work, the heartache, the uncertainty, the making-ish work, because she has said that she has these dreams and things like that. So shout out to also Kevin Samuels emphasizes this point as well, which is somebody who has parameters in their dream. So young man, you're out there, you're thinking, okay, you're at a particular position now where you can bring someone else in. Okay, you got the basics down. You think you can bring someone else in here to help with the whole generational part. Okay. Does she have parameters around her dream? And something people I don't know why people confuse the word, but parameter and perimeter are not the same thing. Perimeter is a boundary. A parameter is something that, anyways, let me put it this way. We all know f of x. Okay, no, that's too mathematical. But if you have a dream, the dream is a function of many things. In other words, it depends on many things. It depends on A, B, C, D, E. Those things are parameters. It depends on your age. Where do you live? How much money do you want? What do they cost? Those kinds of things. They're the different knobs that you got to move around, the different things upon which the dream depends, right? Those are parameters, okay? In other words, if there is just some kind of dream, some kind of aspiration, but she doesn't know, and by the way, people tend to want to impress others with their dreams. So it's not that it's bad if she's talking big. She's got a big game. Fine. Okay. But does she know what it takes? Are there numbers to it? You don't have to be as quant as Dr. Thunder, right? Dr. Thunder probably has an equation for everything. Okay. But does she at least know what A, B, C, D is and contingencies? And okay, maybe if I do it in Ohio versus if I do it over here in California, what does that mean? How does that knob change the outcome? What does the curve look like if I vary these parameters, right? Somebody who does not have any parameters, avoid them for this purpose. I'm not saying they're a bad person. We're talking about generational wealth here, okay? We're talking about generational wealth. This is not for everybody, okay? And if you're going to put yourself through the grind and the toil that it takes, and you're trying to get that Proverbs 31 woman, Proverbs 31 woman knows. She knows all that stuff. You can read the book and get the equation right out of it. So the parameters is 100% key. And also somebody, how do I put this? Ladies and gentlemen? And shout out to Blind Guy, his wife, their life. They've showed up here. Okay. Someone whom is not spoiled is another way of putting this, right, Dr. Thunder? Someone whom is not spoiled. So to speak statistically, you don't necessarily want to get some spoiled aristocrat. And I say spoiled in front of aristocrat because it's an aristocrat should not be spoiled. In other words, they should have high training in terms of competence. But it tends to be the case that we don't have real aristocrats anymore. What we have is people with money who spoil their children, right? An aristocrat is, hey, Mr. Senior Kennedy, you're off to the army. That's what aristocracy is. It's people whom are highly trained because they have to take a high position of honor. There's a trade-off. You're the baron of the land. You're Caesar. You're Alexander. You're going to fight in front of the... Right? That's what the aristocracy used to be. These days, it's just spoiled brats. So the spoiled brat who does not understand what it takes in the toil, but they talk a big game and they have a dream. They don't have parameters around the dream. They don't know what it takes. All that kind of crap, that should be 100% avoided. Ain't that right, Dr. Thunder? And now, let me go to the point that you were making. Someone who thinks linearly. And then you can pick up the point that you were talking about earlier. Let me tell a story about the founder of American Heritage University. His son now runs American Heritage University. So this is exactly generational wealth that I'm talking about. I've interviewed this son a couple of times in my channel, right? I've interviewed him a couple of times. And we'll probably be bringing him back. He's a music producer as well, a multi-talented type of cat. But let's talk about the founder of this thing. That's his dad, okay? We all know that thing, Dr. Thunder, where, there are many memes or maybe even videos that show, hey, the path to success, the way we think about it, this straight linear line, and then they show a jagged line about the real path. You know what I'm saying, Dr. Thunder?
Yes. Yes.
And in the chat, right? You guys know that meme. You guys know that video. It's probably all over LinkedIn, right? Oh, the path to success. Yeah, people think it's like this, but it's like this. But some reason, when it comes to our life, we just forget it, especially when it comes to other people. As in now, we're talking about the woman with the man. This woman needs to understand that the path is nonlinear. Let me talk about the story of this guy. So this guy had, he's educated, right? He got a law degree, started a family in Nigeria, okay? Rose up to the level of the dean of the law school at a university. So far, so good. Things are going rather well. Then, you know how Africa is. Maybe you don't know how it is, but things are not very stable, okay? This government goes in, that government goes out, something happens, blah, blah, blah. Things start to get a little shaky, right? So basically, it becomes this immigrant story whereby the mom had to come over here. How much did she come with? It was 25 naira, which back in the day was 25 cents. So this is somebody that came, his wife, right, came with 25 cents to the United States. The family is back, in Nigeria. Dad is somewhere else. They're trying to make things work, right? So there's that whole rising up and then things come down again, okay? But they stick with it. The guy comes over here. He has to do all kinds of things. Long story short, not going to go through the long story, right? But he has to do all kinds of things to try to inch back up. If the woman was like, why don't I'm not happy. Why can't you just get right there? All this stuff happened to it. They would not have gotten to the point where they are today, which is way above where they came. You know what I'm saying? They rose past dean of law school professor level to having a university that he could actually pass down to his kids. 25 cents coming here. Over the course of 12 years, maneuvering. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Okay, speaking of, this is the non-linearity part of our conversation. If a woman, to make it more specific, comes to you with these linear paths, okay, that says, by age this, I should have this. By age that, I should have that. And then also, including with that, becomes dissatisfied when they're not there. This is someone who does not understand life. Okay? No matter how many memes they show people about how it actually works, this is someone who has not inculcated or swallowed that pill. It never is linear, and it never works the way that Dave Ramsey tells you it should work. I'm going to say some more, but I just want you to kind of go on that non-linearity part, because non-linearity also has to do with the stuff that you said about, you got to try certain things. If the woman is asking me, oh, why do you start the band? Or someone actually once told me a few years ago, maybe about 8 years ago, I ran into somebody and they were like, oh, you should do some modeling, right? I'm like, you're probably not a lot of albino, whatever, model, blah, 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 blah. You could make like $50,000 extra a year, okay? And my woman at the time told me, and there were other reasons probably why she said it, Oh, we don't need we don't need extra money. Like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to? Yes, yes, that was said. That was actually said to me. So now,
Yeah.
including with the other things that I do, let's say I start a band. Let's say I'm now on doing this YouTube stuff. Okay, the benefits of which I can't even begin to tell you in terms of contacts, connections, meeting certain types of people I would not have otherwise met. That then also help my other businesses, right? Non-linearity, diversification. It does not happen the way some idiot on CNN tells you it's going to happen. People who cannot think outside the box. In other words, people whom can only see the path to wealth as being that which everybody else has said it's got to be. They cannot understand that, no, you got to have your hand in about 10 boxes and you never quite know which one is going to happen. And
That's
then
right.
when it does happen, it's going to be exponential and going to go all the way. Any thoughts about this non-linearity thing? In other words, don't be with a linear woman.
Yeah. So, if I can say one more thing about that, you were talking about having these sort of 10 things going on and you don't know where stuff is coming from. Now, one thing that's implied by that is that there has to be an expertise at all of these 10 things
Yeah.
because they don't know the other stuff that you do. And just simply saying, well, you know what? I'm not really a YouTuber. I'm not really into public speaking. Really, I'm more of a saxophone player. No, nobody's gives a crap about playing saxophone. Right now, they're listening to me speak, and so that has to be at a certain level, right? Um, and so all of those 10 things have to be. It's about how much time that it takes to get good at anything, let alone getting good enough at 10 things for the possibility of as you described earlier, the faucet bursting open.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know where that's going to happen. So yes, and you can't have a spouse, a significant other, a love interest, whatever you want to say, that is constantly crapping on your dreams, so to speak, trying to pull you away from things that could be significant opportunities because you don't know how you're going to connect. And if you've been given a skill, and even if it's not, if you've been given a natural ability, even if it's something that you haven't spent significant time developing, and someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, man, you'd be good for X, Y, and Z." I've got a buddy. His name's T.K. Coleman, and this is back when he was living in L.A. And he is a terrifically talented actor. He's as talented an actor as I've seen. He's a preacher's kid, and he's a terrific speaker. One of the great speakers that has ever existed. Not just because he's my friend, but because this dude is really quite astounding. And one time he was walking in a mall, and apparently one of the producers or one of the people that finds talent for a producer singled him out and say, "Hey, you just seem like you just seem like you'd be good for this show." The show was, "Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?" He won the show. But what I'm saying is, what if his spouse was like, do you really need to do that? I thought you gave that, that part of your life up.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even what you do anymore.
Yeah.
That kind of crap. It's like, no, you can't have that. I mean, now granted, that's not the same. That's not this. Look, you also need a spouse though that will check you when necessary.
Yeah.
So when you're doing some stuff that really is off the rails, I mean, you do need someone to tell you that.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
why
why
it's
they
so
know you,
tricky.
right? Yeah.
That's right.
This person knows you the best. And we all have that friend, that over enthusiastic friend, otherwise smart, right? But he always got this new thing. Now he's gonna start a kite company, and, and it's like, whoa, dude, hold on. That kind of a thing. 100%. That is, I should say, a given. Shout out to Sister George in the house. They're all coming out the woodwork. Okay, thank you for the super chat. What's the color of your broom these days, Sister George? What's she got to say?
Yeah, she says, "Good evening, Ike and Dr. Thunder." Good evening to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's again dwell on this thing, because again, back a few minutes ago, we already agreed that Proverbs 31 woman is not a dummy, and it's more of wisdom, conscientiousness, and all those other things, which they don't give degrees for. Hence, it's not about your degree. Now we're into this aspect of non-linearity and the real nitty gritty, and how she's got to allow you do this, that, and the other. Now, Dr. Thunder, I started a band. How has the band made me money in my engineering business, Dr. Thunder? Do you know?
I don't know, but I think you're going to share.
Now, there are direct ways. I'm going to talk about the indirect one. And I mentioned it, and you do know when I say it, you're like, oh, yeah. I learned a lot about being able to convince people. Performance, yes. About selling from the fact that I performed, right?
You also got a good theme song.
I also have a good theme song for this YouTube channel, which, by the way, is also helping the engineering company in other ways directly, but also indirectly.
And you were also, your video was played on Kevin Samuel's show.
Did I plan that? No. Well, let me put it this way. Did I? Okay. Let me describe. I didn't want to bore the audience, but intuition just basically says, oh, if I do this and do that. And by the way, in Andrew Schultz, right? I end up in that Andrew Schultz clip, which is getting close to 3 million views now, I believe, right? The albino says N-word stuff. Let me tell you the truth about that. People keep asking. You know the clip I'm talking about, Dr. Thunder, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because you have that stone face on, like it's either you don't know the clip or you disapprove of the clip or something like that. But
no.
So when I was going to the Andrew Schultz show that night in Sacramento, and I was in the Uber. Actually, me and the Uber driver were talking, and he's a comedian as well. I said, because Andrew Schultz is known for kind of roasting people, and I'm a fan of Andrew Schultz, that's why I was going to his show, right? So, and I got a, shall we say, seat in the front on purpose, because I wanted to get the full experience. He roasts people in the front. It's a whole thing, I like to have a good time. That's just basic stuff I'm saying. This is just my personality. So I'm going to get a seat in the front. And did I foresee possibility that it would go in and end up what it is? Yes. But I do stuff like this all the time. But it's not like I planned it. There's a difference, right? There's a difference between planning it. I was just having a good time and then foreseeing maybe some certain possibilities, trying out certain skills in the case of, let's say, with the music thing, and then seeing, hey, maybe I should expand the engineering thing and into more of a out there expanding a business selling type person, hire engineers, that kind of a thing, right? But I didn't plan it. It's just like by trying all these different things, you tend to then combine it. And I'll stop with this, which is the whole talent stack thing, right? I always tend to say that not every one of us is going to be Dr. Thunder or saxophone, right? But you can be Ike, which is like, can't really read music, but it's got this rhythm thing and this other thing, blah, blah, blah. Not the best songwriter, but it's kind of generally good with the lyrics thing, okay? Not the best X, Y, or Z, but you're striving to be at least top 5% on many things. And when you do that, sometimes you actually become more rare than somebody who is 0.001% at one thing, right? Because you just start increasing, shall we say, or reducing the odds with all these combinations. Anyways, Dr. Thunder, I've been going on and on. Shout out to the super chat. Oh, is this a super sticker, Dr. Thunder?
It looks like a sticker.
Well,
And that is
thank you.
$19.99 from Practitioner Her.
Any additions to the whole, shall we say, because embracing the dream, right? Which it has to do with also embracing the toil and all that kind of stuff, also has to do with understanding that things are non-linear, right?
Yes.
And I gave a particular story, right? And then we have freaking memes that show it. We should start believing it. Right? That's how the path to success actually is. That you don't necessarily know. There's uncertainty. There's pits and wells and oh craps, right? Anyways, go ahead.
I want to give a this is a nuance on this. So understand that Ike is not saying that setting goals is bad. Okay?
Nope.
That's not what he's saying. He is saying that if you expect that the goal is necessarily going to be a straight line from where you are, then that's foolish. That's what he's saying. You should still have the goals and be striving towards those goals, but understand that it's not going to be the path you think it's going to be, and you're going to have to do all kind of stuff that you cannot predict. And it's going to take an uncommon resolve to get to each step of your goal, of your list of goals. To achieve each goal is going to take an uncommon resolve, because it's not going to happen the way you want it to happen. And it's always going to be less sleep than you think it's going to be.
What is your particular, because I was going to add that whichever your hang up if sleep is the thing that you really, really need, then you're going to be sleeping less, more than you thought. If, whatever your particular thing that you need, or your comfort, let's put it that way, is going to take more of a sacrifice of your comforts than you expect. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Whatever that weak spot you have is, it's going to exploit that.
I don't know if you guys are hearing what Dr. Thunder is saying, because in a way it's very logically simple. It's almost necessary. But also, it is the crux of the battle a lot of times. In other words, there's an internal struggle, right? The war out there, this is the good news part of what Dr. Thunder is saying. He's saying the path is not going to take a straight line. As a matter of fact, let me share something. The path, it's not that you're saying, and I'm saying, right? We're both saying, it's not that you don't have goals, but it's not going to take it this straight line. But also, you've added that the battle is internal, in the sense that whatever it is your hang up, your particular weakness, that's the thing that's going to be most challenged. The logical necessity is because, of course, that's your weak point. Your weak point is going to be the part that you feel the most in whatever, shall we say, worthy or big endeavor that you're going to go on. And it's going to be a worthy and big endeavor. This is generational wealth thing we're talking about, right? So that's the part that's going to be most challenged. But before we continue, I just wanted to, for our, because we all know this stuff, but sometimes even for, let's say we want to talk about exponential, right? Because it's rather simple, because even if you draw a simple curve with just time here and some kind of goal, right? X, we're just saying that it is never linear. People always tend to forget, or people, you know what people focus on when you say it is crazy, is they always see all these downs, right? And crazy things. But you know what they don't see? Over here at the top is their best expectation, right? Of what's going to happen. And over a certain amount of time, this is their best estimate of how things are going to change, right? It's going to change by this much X, right? But they forget that this graph down here, crazy shit like this ends up happening. Right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Now,
Crazy shit like that ends up happening. Anyways, go ahead.
now this is interesting. I have a similar graph that I draw for my students, and I call it the discipline graph. So, so you have the X and the Y axis, just like in your graph. And in general, well, specifically, I should say rather,
Mm-hmm.
the graph we're relating to musicianship,
Mm-hmm.
varied aspects of musicianship, because no one is one dimensional. So, really, you're talking about multiple things that are on the same graph.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, at first, so if this axis
Mm-hmm.
is skill
Mm-hmm.
and this axis
Mm-hmm.
is time, then
Mm-hmm.
what happens is you have this rather even increment in improvement for the
Okay.
first while.
Okay, for the first while. All right.
But then what happens, and this is a phenomena that everyone experiences in every discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like bodybuilding analogies. You certainly experience it there. You're going to plateau.
Exactly.
So when you plateau, you're going to stay plateaued for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
The longer you're plateaued, the more frustrating the experience will become. You keep pressing, you're putting as much energy in as you ever were, but you're not seeing any results. You're not getting any better.
Mm-hmm.
But then something happens, something miraculous happens, seemingly.
Mm-hmm.
Say, for instance, if I have a particular tune or a particular technical section of a song or a piece that I'm working on, and I can only play that thing at 135 BPMs. Okay? But I need to be able to play it at 140. And I'm plateaued and I'm stuck and I can't get that thing past there. Then overnight, the next day, all of a sudden I can play it at 145 or 150.
Mm-hmm.
You get this exponential increase that seems to come out of nowhere. You're just better.
Boom.
Okay? Now, here's the thing. Here's the trick. The trick is, and this is a good, I'm using the practice room, but this is, but we can see the practice room as a microcosm and your life as a macrocosm, right? Really, it's not just one thing that's on that graph. There's
Mm-hmm.
multiple things. There's 5 or 6 things. There's 7 or 8 things that are happening. And when you have started to become frustrated because you're plateaued, there are other areas that actually aren't even plateaued.
Mm.
They're still improving.
Yep.
Right? But the thing is when you get frustrated, you become hyper focused on the thing that won't move, even if other things are improving and moving. And now check out where I'm going to go with this. This is where I go to this illustration of putting things on the back burner. Now, understand this. A modern stove has 4 elements, and actually all 4 of them are capable of intense heat. Okay? So putting something on the back burner is not quitting for 6 months. It's not, you know what? I guess that's not going to be, an aspect of my career. So I guess I'm done with that. That's not putting it on the back burner. That's just quitting. That's taking it off the stove. Putting it on the back burner, it's still receiving intense heat, but you're distracted by the stuff in front that you're actually seasoning and stirring. And then you rotate. So this is an approach to stay engaged with all of the stuff that you're doing while everything is still receiving attention and being cooked, but you're just focusing on the stuff that's producing results while you're giving other stuff time to begin to produce. And to your point about you never know, where stuff is going to come from. You don't. You have no idea. And so that's why it's important to not give up on stuff. You just have to keep doing it long enough. Just long enough. Just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And you have to, sometimes you got to talk to yourself. You have to be your own coach. And you can't have a spouse that as you're going through this, these struggles, that is crapping all over everything. You can't have that. That is just, it's too hard. It's too hard.
So, shout out to, if you don't mind, or you got a sound effect for us, sir? Choose let's get one of yours. Your favorite.
The big 50, the $49.99. That means it was from an iOS device. And greetings with the nice. Oh, greetings with the Vulcan. The Vulcan symbol there.
Got it.
What is it? Peace. What is it? Peace and prosper or something? I can't remember it.
Something and prosper. Is it farewell and prosper? Something and prosper for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Tech Not Fancy. Definitely well appreciated. Holding it down at sponsorship level. Several sponsors for the show thus far. Okay. So nice way to bring it home there about the showing the graphs, showing non-linearity, showing that this happens, you plateau, such and such, showing that there are many of these going on at the same time, and putting stuff in the back burner is about where you are on the curve, not some kind of quitting and some other excuse for being lazy. Now, I think, how are we doing on time, Dr. Thunder?
We have about, well, it depends on how long you want to go. But it seems like we have about 5 minutes left if we're trying to.
Interesting.
I think this show needs a second part. I think it needs a second part. I think we can dig in more to the sort of some of the qualities that we want to avoid. We covered some. We covered kind of some of the main things, and then we kind of went right into some ideals. We talked about the Proverbs 31 woman. Man, I'm doing your job right now. And so I thought that was good. We talked about these, the non-linearity of, achieving goals. I mentioned, just to make sure that people understood this clearly, that we're not saying that goals are bad and that women that have goals are fools. That's not what we're saying. We're saying have goals, but understand that it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go, and you need to have an uncommon resolve to get to whatever that point is. And yeah, you can have sort of some sketched out ideas of maybe where you would like to be, where you think things are going to happen, but when things totally destroy, your list and your objectives, you need to be able to reassess, you need to have enough flexibility to continue on the course if it's something that you actually want to do. I thought you made a really great point about if someone is not willing. They say they have this dream thing that they want to do, but you know they don't want to take take an opportunity because it's going to be inconvenient. It's going to, well, that's not exactly how I wanted to. It's not how I saw myself getting started. If it turns into that, then you got the wrong one.
100%. Okay. Anything coming up that you would like to promote?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me go over here.
So I interviewed, as I said before, Mr. 1950 last night. That interview premiered this morning. I thought it was really great conversation. I encourage you to go on over there and check it out. I've got a show on Thursday coming up, Thunder's Thoughts. It'll be 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Dr. Doug. And we're going to review one of Chantel Simone's videos. And it was one of her videos. It's got about 25,000 views. Hasn't been out that long. And I've noticed that her subscriber count, I think since that video came out, really skyrocketed. We were about neck and neck, her and I. And now she blasted past all of us.
Nice.
And so congratulations to her for her continued success and continued growth. But that video that she did is about why women are miserable. And so that's going to be an interesting show. Haven't thought of a title yet, but that's going to be cool. Also on Thursday, this will be earlier that day, and I'll put this on my community tab. One of the bands that I direct, it's a commercial music ensemble. It's basically a pop band with all of the technology and bells and whistles. It's 4 singers, 4 horns, 2 guitars, piano, bass, drums, all in-ear monitors, and the whole show. It's a show we're doing, and it's a very eclectic show. And we're doing everywhere from Phil Collins to goodness, Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire. Goodness, it's a very eclectic show. James Taylor. So it's going to be a good show. We've been working really hard on that. Students have been really working hard on that. That's going to be live streamed from the School of Music YouTube channel. I will put that on my community tab. That'll be 11:30 a.m. to 12:25 p.m. and that's this coming Thursday. That again is Eastern Standard Time. Next week I will be interviewing The Angry Man, and it's about to go down. That's going to be a very, very a good conversation. Looking forward to talking to him. And with interviewing him, that will have put me the 3 kings, as it were, the 3 founding members of the Black Manosphere. I will have interviewed them all. I interviewed Mumia Obsidian Ali some months ago, and also, of course, O'Shea Duke Jackson. So this rounds out the collection. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff that's happening. But another thing to promote and to talk about is Case Closed, which is coming up this Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Solo's channel. Case Closed. Yes, I don't know the topic yet, but it's going to be a barn burner. I think we've really caught our stride. The show. It's a really good mix of personalities. So let's go, and then back to getting ish done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. But Ike will be in Africa.
Yeah, just like a couple of months, like in March and part of April, I was in Africa, right? So, gonna be there again. You're gonna see that I'm there. You're gonna notice the change and things, and we're gonna have a good time all over. And I'll try to use footage 'cause I have a lot of footage. I don't that I need to be edited. But did you check out my chicken video the other day? should
Wait a
check it
minute
out.
here. What's the name of the video?
It's called I think YouTube is suppressing it because of it's called Village Slaughter.
Oh, right. See, I have that. That I have not watched it yet, but I have it marked for me to watch it.
Yeah. So
But
what did you think it was? Oh, it probably had an impression you could see that it's a chicken thing. Anyways, because I put a Village Pookie. That's what I'm calling him right now. I put Village Pookie and I called it Village Slaughter, and you can't quite tell what it is. But anyways, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a good one, and Dr. Thunder has done a great job summarizing everything, and I don't have much to add. I will see you guys. Hey, is Joan in the chat? If Joan is in the chat, then let's get a 1, and we'll confirm that we're gonna
Well, you know
do a
what? I'll
review
confirm
tomorrow.
right
Go.
now. I'll confirm right now. Yeah, she's in the chat. She's there.
Okay, so we're gonna be here tomorrow, Joan, with a brand new, fresh review. Okay, cool. She's available, so she can respond, and we're gonna take it out. You know what? Let me play that beat. Let me play this. Let me see.
Hey,
Let me
Dr.
see.
Doug is in the chat.
Shout out to Dr. Doug in the building. Let's
What
see.
up, man?
Let's see.
You got you'll dig this show, man.
Indeed. Let's see. We'll play a little bit of this thing here.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil's lurking, with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.